Hi. Alright, so today I'm just out doing some yard work, and I don't normally talk about things that are political, ever. I don't watch the news, I turn it off. I find it's disturbing, it's bad, there's always bad things in there. I don't get involved in politics. I'm not really involved in any of that stuff, right? But today I just feel like it's important because it's just, I keep thinking about it. I'm thinking about it all the time, and I'm just feel like I need to say something about baby Alfie. And if anybody knows the story about baby Alfie, he was a baby in Britain who was taken off life support and by the doctors and in a fight with his parents. And this case is just so disturbing to me because this is the foundation of certainly what happened to me and what I see happening to people all around the world, and why I think it's so important that you need to fight for your own health. The doctors are not out there looking out for you as much as they say they are. They're making decisions on a case-by-case basis, how much something is, and what they feel. And I just want to say, when it gets down to something like this, where the state, takes away rights of the parents, where the parents no longer have rights for their own children to decide what's right and what's wrong. And this happens not in just the case of baby Alfie, but many cases. And there's many cancer cases too, where these poor children have been forced to go through chemotherapy, or the state makes decisions, medical decisions on behalf of the parent. And I just think it's completely wrong. So poor baby Alfie, I mean, his parents wanted to see what they could do to, help their baby survive, and what parent wouldn't, right? And the state said no. They said, we are not, basically they made the decision that this child is not worth fighting for. This child will be better off dead. It will be inhumane, or not good for, not giving him dignity or a good quality of life if we fight for him. But they're not the parents, and they don't know what's best for him. The parents decided they wanted to try, and they had Italy, who was going to take him in and grant him citizenship, and doctors who were saying there's more we can do. We can do more. And I mean, it's just, the doctors in Britain didn't even know what was wrong with him. They didn't even know. They couldn't even confirm a diagnosis. They just said that he will die if we take him off life support, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to take him off life support because we don't think we can do any more for this child, and we think it's time for him to go. Now, what right does the state ever have to do that? I mean, I don't like to get involved in politics, but it just burns me at my very core. These parents wanted to fight for their baby. They couldn't even get a clear diagnosis, and the Italian government was going to take him in. There was doctors, there was people who were fighting for him and willing to do more and try more things. And the state of Britain just simply refused. They just said, no, well, this is our decision, and you're not even allowed to take him out of the country. You're not even allowed to try. We're not even going to allow this to happen. Even when the Pope was saying that Italy will take him in and welcome him and try all these things. And it's just, to me, that the state is not, doctors are not looking out for your best interest. Doctors are not going to be the ones going to little Alfie's gravesite, sitting there for the rest of their lives thinking about Alfie, but the parents will. And they wanted to do everything they could. They wanted to fight for their child, and they should have been granted that right. That is their right as parents, to treat their child. And they had hope, they had options, and they were told by the state that, too bad, we're going to take him off life support. They said, once we take him off life support, he'll die in 5 minutes, and he didn't. He survived for 3 days. And what's even more disturbing is that a nurse came in the middle of the night. I mean, I don't like to get into stories. More details will come out as it unfolds. But the nurse came in the middle of the night, 2 hours before little Alfie did die. His blood looked amazing. His heart rate looked amazing. Everything looked great. She gave him 4 injections, which were never disclosed to the family, or never told what were in them or why she had given them to them, only that they were supposed to help him after they had already, you know, refused him water and food and all of these things, and he died 2 hours later after all of those 4 injections. So, I mean, I'm sure that that story and Alfie's parents will find out exactly why those injections were given and what was in them, but I am certain that that helped to cause his death. And, you know, the problem with all of this is that you really do. People are fooled into thinking that doctors are there to help them, that they are looking out for their best interests, that they want the best for them, that they know what's best for them. You know, none of this could be further from the truth. You know what's best for you, you know what's best for your children, you know what's best for their family, and you've got to take your own responsibility to fight for yourself, for your environment, for your food quality, for, you know, all the chemicals and pesticides and things that they're putting in the air. You have the right to refuse medication, you have the right to refuse any kind of toxins, and you have the right to fight for yourself. And I can tell you that nobody cares, no doctor cares. When you're really ill and you don't listen to their advice, they write you off. They don't care about you. You know, it's more an ego thing in many cases. And it's, you know, checks and balances, and they have to follow the law, and they have to prescribe certain things and do certain protocols, and this is just how they practice medicine. It's not necessarily in your best interest. It's what they're allowed to do, what they are taught to do, what they can by law do, and what they will and won't do, you know, personally and by law. So it's not, this case about Alfie makes me sick, and not only Alfie, but many other children who basically the state decides their fate, and it's not fair. You know, this is like, it's kind of like a dictatorship, this medical industry. It was like a hostage situation with poor little baby Alfie, and it was wrong. And, you know, I don't think that doctors are bad people, and I don't think that they're out there intentionally doing things to hurt people or to murder people or to kill people or to do things, but they are doing things that are hurting people. And they're protected by the state and by the pharmaceutical companies and the medical industry and the laws, and it's not right. If you do harm to somebody, you know, it's wrong. You do not have the right to do harm to somebody against their will. You do not have the right to do things without informed consent. And informed consent means not just, it means telling everything on both sides, which doctors many times just leave out conveniently. And, you know, I don't want to get into all of it, but this story has just affected me so much in my heart. I just feel so bad for Alfie and Alfie's parents and his family, that they weren't given the right to try to fight for him, and that their rights were taken away, and that the doctors just decided that they were God and they knew everything. And in many cases, on a grander scale and on a much lesser scale, this is what happens when people walk into their doctor's office and the doctors decide your fate with medications and operations and things without informed consent, and it's wrong. And you really, my point of this whole video is not to slander doctors, but is to say you really have to step up and take control of your own health, take responsibility for your own health, look at the pros and cons of each situation, decide what you want, because your life is valuable and you have the right to do and fight for yourself and your family, and you should be able to use whatever kind of medical things that you want, natural, alternative, conventional, or otherwise. And I just hope that everyone does their own research and doesn't take doctors' words face value, or the pharmaceutical industries, or the medical ads, or newspapers, or all these things, because it's just, in many cases, a bunch of, you know, I don't know. I can't even go there. It bothers me so much. It's wrong, and in many cases criminal. I will say that I just say a prayer for Alfie and his parents and all the other people over the world who are either being forced into medical procedures, not being allowed to have them, or, you know, sort of given a hand by the doctors, given a medication, given a diagnosis, given a surgery, given, or being withheld certain things, or whatever the case may be. I just hope that they know that they're important, they're valuable, and they can do their own research. You can always do your own research. There's always a will, there's always a way. Never give up, always fight for your rights and your own health. And that's all I wanted to say.